create a few variables with C#. Now, C# is a little bit different to Python. They have an explicit and implicit way of defining variables, and we're going to look at both. Generally, I would encourage you to explicitly define variable types, and we'll talk about that right now. So let's create some explicit examples. So if I type in int and then my number and then equals 1, of course we need a semicolon there. You can see the red squiggly line. Now, if you see a green squiggly line, which looks like an error, what it's saying is the variable is assigned, but it's never used. So it's just saying, why have you created this variable? So just ignore those squiggly lines on the left. All right, so you can see here the sort of format we've got. We've got int, which is the type of variable, which in this case is an integer. Here it's the variable name, and here it is the value. So you could also go int and then my number, and that would create a variable and it wouldn't be assigned a value yet. Okay, so the first thing you need to do with that would be to assign a value. So here we're defining a variable and assigning a value. Other examples include bool, and then you put true or false. And here you can see, it's important to see that it's got a suggestion there, a false. I haven't typed that at all. I can just press tab and take their suggestion. So if you're not sure whether it needs a capital or not, usually the best way is just to use the tab and use the autocomplete. So that would be a Boolean. We've got floating points. So all right, so it lets you put a floating point value in. You need to put an F there as well, by the way. And you've got char, and these are the main basic type variables. And when you're using char, you use single quotes. So single quote, it's a bit of a mess there. Single quote, X, for example, quote, semicolon. All right. So these are explicit definitions because they have the variable type right here. Another variable type that you'll use all the time is string. So you can see the format there. So that's how you define a string. Now, the other way to define variables is implicitly. So we might just put up an example of so that would be how you would use or reference that variable there. That's a console write line. All right, so the other thing you need to be aware of is that there is implicit definitions. And by that, what it means is you can go var, and then my variable equals 10. So what does this mean? It means that create a variable, and at this stage, C# doesn't know what type of variable or the data type basically. And it just knows to create one called this. And what it does is it looks on this side of the equals to work out, oh, well, this is an integer. So that means I'm creating this variable of type integer. You could have put, maybe we'll call our variable X. And we could have put, and then it would have created a string variable, right? So we haven't mentioned the word string, but it would create a string variable. If we did that, it would create a variable called X type string. But if we did this, then the next line equals 10, we would get a squiggly red line, which is not good. And it says we cannot convert type int to string. So what it means is once it grabs the type, it can't change, which is a bit different to Python. All right, so you're used to Python, the variable types being able to change. Here we can't change the types. So this is all I wanted to show you for variables. So these are the main types of variables that you'll be using. You'll particularly see a lot of int and you'll see a lot of string. You may choose to use var more or less. I tend to use it less because I like being very explicit in what I do. That way I can see very clearly what variable type it is there. But anyway, this is how you define variables. I'll see you in the next lesson.